I wanted to start by asking, I think, the story of how this project came to you has been told many times, but it's really fascinating, which is that Martin Scorsese has a book club, read this novel, and sent it to you. And I was wondering sort of what your reaction when you first read the novel is, because it's very internal, and how did you even sort of start thinking of this as a character that I might be able to play?
It was really clearly an extremely special character. It was really just so profound and powerful. Reminded me of A Woman Under the Influence, Gina Rowlands. So I knew the character was like was very special, but I couldn't really figure out how to like crack the movie because it was all from inside her head. It was like her inner dialogue. So I sat with it for a while, and then it just kind of clicked that it wasn't meant to be literal or linear, that it was poetry. And then once I realized that it was meant to be poetry, then Lynn Ramsey was the only person that I thought of to direct it, because she is a poet.
I was wondering, obviously, we're going to talk about your performance, but you're a producer on this as well. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the process of putting it together, reaching out to Lynn, reaching out to Rob, sort of putting it together as a film to take out, and what that process was like.
Well, we reached out to Lynn, and then she kind of took time after she said yes, which was crazy. And then she kind of took time trying to crack it, and finding financing was hard because it's a female issue, and it's just that is just complex in all societies. So it's rated R, and it's about postpartum. People weren't like throwing money at us. So it took a second, and then but once we had the financing and Lynn was attached, it's the only movie I've ever been a part of that every first choice of casting said yes because of Lynn. Sissy Spacek, Nick Nolte, Rob, Lakeith, all of these like our dream list, and they all said yes.
Yeah. You mentioned it's about postpartum. I know Lynn has been she talks about that it's not exactly about postpartum for her.
Well, you can't be entirely sure because you might just not understand what she's saying. This is her
She has
Scottish accent.
she has a very, very thick Scottish accent.
Yeah.
But for you, what was your way into Grace and what she was going through?
I went back and forth. I think it matters if it matters to you. It's like it's this movie. What I love so much about all of Lynn's movies is she's not pushing something. It's like she's experiencing something by herself. It's like she's not really concerned about the audience. Like she's very unflinching. Yeah. And so I think what's great about this movie is the space that it allows for you to project kind of your experience. And even myself in doing the movie, I had different moments of it where it was like, okay, this is from postpartum. This is from, the way that our relationship has changed since having a baby and being parents, and the inequality that has arrived in our relationship, and the captivity to maybe this is something that she's always struggled with, and I think the truth is it doesn't matter. It's just, I think postpartum was an engine for this rich and deep character study on these extremely interesting characters going through something really extraordinary.
Yeah. Was there a prep process for you in terms of before you got to set? I know Lynn sent you to dance classes with Rob, but individually, was there any sort of work that you felt you had to do before you got to set?
Yeah, Lynn had us, we went up to Calgary like 3 weeks before shooting. That's when Rob and I did our dance lessons, and we didn't rehearse. I don't love to rehearse. Yeah. I don't think Lynn does either. But it was just kind of like world building. It was, we would have I mean, we talked for years, before she wrote the script, while she was writing the script, we talked about Grace for years. And so then, once we actually had the script in front of us, it wasn't saying the dialogue out loud, but more just talking about the conversations that they were having. And then we would move those conversations into the house. Yeah. So then Rob and I would spend, a few hours like in the house, which ended up kind of feeling like another character in the movie. It was so, it was changing a lot. Yeah. And she would kind of put the camera back and let us really like live in it for a while. So then costume always helps me. Yeah. Especially because in this movie, you can never shoot linearly. I can't speak anymore, so I'm sorry for everybody that stayed. But I at the beginning of the movie, they're clearly from another place. They really stick out. Yeah. And then she starts to kind of blend in and like look like everybody else, like the pink cardigan is what comes to my mind of like she's starting to look like her surroundings. And so that would help me in the day when I would show up in the morning and like see what was hanging in my trailer, kind of like place myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I spoke to Lynn last night and she was mentioning this sort of idea that the house was so like crucial to her. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, and that is a house, it's not a set, and if you could talk a little bit about sort of how the place started to inform your performance as well.
Well, it was the crawling like an animal thing, unless I'm wrong. I should probably check the script and double check, but I'm pretty sure that was just like Lynn's idea one day, which I think came from a combination of I was pregnant, and I think when you're pregnant, you become animalistic in certain ways, and you just, you're doing something otherworldly, and these parts of your brain are kind of waking up, and you're focused and protective, and you're just it's animalistic. And she is in this new place, and she has no community, and so she's kind of like a tiger, pacing her cage. And I think all of that, like Lynn kind of just sees in other dimensions. She like takes information from everything, and then I think that's when she started telling me to crawl like a cat.
What is it like, sort of, she works with improv, she works very impulsively. Like, what was that experience like for you? Had anything you'd done sort of prior prepared you for that?
It's also like reverse improv, where you memorize 5 pages of dialogue, and then she's like, I get it. Don't say any of it. I mean, David O. Russell definitely prepared me for, staying on your toes and not, I think I started working with him when I was like 20. So I'm really grateful for that, because I don't think that I got used to like a one way of doing it. I normally just adapt when I get there to what the directors are doing. And I mean, I think it's certainly a lot more fun. Yeah. When you don't exactly know what's going to happen that day, but also the results are just, I mean, that's what working with a real artist is like. Like, I mean, the scene where he proposes, that was just written as we were like, flipping burgers. And then he asked me, but she saw the light in the field and then was like, go crawl in the field. It was like that. And there were things like that all the time. And that's what working with a real auteur is like.
Tell us a little bit about sort of, those dance lessons, sort of developing that chemistry with Rob so you could be so in the moment when, Lynn asks you to crawl on the ground.
I mean, it was good for both of us because we have similar personalities where we easily embarrass. Yeah. I don't know if Rob shares this, but I personally get embarrassed like in front of the crew, like to like act. And so we didn't know each other very well. And so I think it helped. It was like exposure therapy. It's like doing your worst fear. So by the time you get on set and it's your first day and she's like, attack each other like tigers and do it naked. You're kind of like, oh, okay. And also like there's so much choreography in what we do, with fight scenes, with sex scenes. Like it's all choreographed. Yeah. So I think us building that muscle together was really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, music is such a huge part of the film. And so I was wondering, was that present on set? Like, obviously, the Mickey sequence, the John Prine sequence. How was that sort of present on set?
She's the only director I've ever worked with that plays music on set. And so that was so cool. Because there were certain things like, when I say she's a world builder, like she's not neurotic and she's not, she's very, she creates like a vibe and then you're kind of living in it. And like when my character after the wedding, loses it for lack of a better term, when she goes nuts. It was just like we were about to call action and I'm just kind of like trying to map out, because we were using reversal film stock, which is really rare. Yeah. So you can't really waste that stuff. So I was trying to like choreograph with the camera guys before we started rolling. Like, I think I'm going to go over here to the table and then I'm going to kind of go over, and Lynn just like came over with an earwig and then started playing this Sleigh Bells song, Infinity Guitars. And it just like immediately, it was just like, da 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 da. Like it just like got me into the headspace. It was really cool. She had never heard Raffi before. What? I take full credit. I was playing Apples and Bananas for either my kid or Victoria or Kennedy, the twins that played our baby. And she just like came in and was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's Raffi." And she was like, "This is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. What is it?" Like she was like, it was like the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Was there any sort of, for you, practically, like, doing this performance, obviously there is this sort of element of surreality and like what is in her head, what is she experiencing? Was it important for you in the moment to sort of figure that out for yourself and then let the audience decide on their own, or did you just go with it all, if that makes sense?
Well, in the moment, all of it was real to me. I couldn't. There was no moment when we were shooting where I was aware, like me, Jennifer, aware that any of it was in Grace's mind. Like it was a very, because that, I'm not sure if that was on purpose or I don't know, because I remember watching it and being like, oh, and so it's hard to tell what is like a choice, like what, I don't know, but that yeah, for Grace, it is all real and it is all factual. And then I saw it a bunch of different ways. It was just wild watching it. It was the first movie that I've ever made as a mother, like being a mother. Yeah. And I was pregnant, and then I watched it when I was like 9 months pregnant. And then I watched it after my baby was born. And then I watched it experiencing postpartum depression. And so it was a really wild ride. Like I've never seen the same movie, but so many different ways before.
Yeah. Did that sort of change the way you thought that the audience might experience it too? The idea that like you can watch it 5 different times and it can change sort of every single time you see it. Like was that sort of, did you sort of start in your producer brain start thinking about, oh wow, the audience is going to every audience member is going to have such a different reaction to this?
Yeah, I think it really helped me like let go of that part, because there is, of course, when you work really hard on something and it's really personal, it to honest to God feels violating that all of you guys have seen it, and like that people will like watch it and like discuss it. It's just like what, and so of course when a movie is coming out, you feel really, it's hard to fight being controlling of that, of exactly how people are going to see it. And I think because I've seen it so many different ways, it really helped me let go of that. And just like every time I get asked the question, like, what do you hope audiences take away? And I'm like, I plead the fifth. Like you'll take away, it's really about your own projection.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about working with Sissy Spacek and Nick Nolte, because those scenes are so fascinating and sort of removed in a way from what you experienced Grace opposite Jackson. And so, I mean, first of all, other than the fact that they're both legends, like, why did you want to bring them on for these roles? And what were those scenes like? How did they feel different than anything else you were doing in the context of the film?
Well, I mean, they were our first choice because they're the best, obviously. And I mean, with Sissy, it was so interesting because I've known her for a long time. We haven't worked together, but we're actresses, so we see each other at these. She's always just been so sweet and so maternal, and so for us to get to play mother and daughter-in-law was really like special, and it changed so much from what was on the page because she is a very maternal person and really aware and loving, and so I think for her, she just kept telling Lynn, like, there's no way that Pam wouldn't see this, that she wouldn't be able to see what's going on. And so for me, it felt like the only time, like, if you imagine, like, you know, banging on somebody's chest when they're not paying attention to you, it's a lot easier to get like louder and bigger because they don't see you. But when I would do scenes with Sissy, it was like, like I felt like she could just see right through me. And so it felt like the only time that I was aware of how far off on a different plane Grace was than everybody else. And with Nick Nolte, it was like, I have really great in-laws. So I have a really nice relationship with my in-laws, and I'm really close with my father-in-law. So I kind of just like imprinted my father-in-law's face on to him, and it felt like death and birth are similar. Like it's kind of what's going on with Sissy and Grace, where, you know, Sissy is living alone for the first time. She's still cooking for two, and she's mourning, and Grace has done the opposite and just brought life into the world, but it's the death of your old life. So I think the veil is thin between Grace and Harry.
Yeah. I mean, and you can so tell that in the scenes with Sissy, that like there's something that sort of pulls you out of it, out of her, whatever she's going through. But on the opposite, I wanted to ask about sort of the, you know, the volatility with Rob. I think a lot has been talked about. You know, there's the first scene where there is this joy. There is, you know, I know Julian had you do that first, but like, I was wondering what portraying that volatility with him was like.
Well, it was, I mean, doing like fight scenes like that, or like, it requires a lot of trust. It's like sex scenes. Like hopefully if you're with somebody who you trust, you don't worry about who's underneath it. You can just like deal with, like, I felt like I could just deal with Jackson and I could say whatever I want, like, without worrying about Rob underneath. And I felt like we could both, like, we could run, you know, and the other one would, and he gave me a lot more to like push up against, because I think in the script Jackson is more of like he's just kind of galled over by her like wins, and he was stronger, and so that added a lot.
Yeah. What was it like working with the twins who played the child on set? Because it's such an intense experience, and then you have these babies on set.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I obviously, as a mother, I'm really nervous to make sure that I mean, of course, their hours and everything, they're like well taken care of in that way. But I wanted to make sure that they were familiar, you know, with me. So I started spending a lot of time with them before we started shooting, and then while we were shooting, and they, I mean, I got close with their parents, and their mom and I would like laugh that they were having like a better day than, you know, getting so much attention as opposed to, you know, just like, I don't know what else their day would be like, but it changed. I think there was a version that existed that was a little bit more of like your classic postpartum, which is like, you know, you're not connecting right away with the baby, or the baby's crying so much you need to just like step outside, and like, You're like irrationally angry at the baby or something. And I think Rob and I both, I mean, Rob had a new baby. My baby was like 2. Rob had like a newborn. We both just like couldn't do it. And it was too, like, I can't hold a baby. And if the baby like makes eye contact with me, I can't like stonewall the baby. You know, I have to be like, hi, I love you. And I think that like that informed and made it better, because postpartum doesn't look like one thing, you know. That is a version of it for sure, but there's also just like there's also another element of like, you know, I don't hate the baby, I hate you, like your husband, like nothing has changed for you. And you know, so it was great. It was like having like a comfort baby on set. I mean, like, what can't put, you're in the best mood ever when there's like a baby. Even the scene, I just want for any moms, like I get really anxious when I watch things with babies. Even in the creek when I'm pouring water on the baby's head, that was 98-degree water that was in a tiny little Tupperware, so that not even a drop of cold water got on the baby's head.
I mean, like you said that you were able to, you know, look at a baby and feel happy. Were you able to, was Grace someone you were able to, obviously you were a mother, you had a 2-year-old, you sort of had to at a certain point sort of let her go, like, but were you able to sort of remove yourself from her psyche at the end of work days?
Well, at the end of work days, yeah, I never struggle with that. I like, if anything, I struggle with like not remembering that I have to like memorize lines tomorrow. The hard part for me was that I've always used my instincts, and I've always relied on my instincts. And so I've, you know, for like, I don't know how long I've been doing this, like 20 years. I've just like been like, oh, well, my instinct is to do this. But this was the first time I'm like, you know, I'm playing a mom and I am a mom. And so my instincts were kind of confusing me, and I had to like separate what I would do, you know, as opposed to what Grace would do. You know, so that was complicated, but Lynn was obviously helpful.
Yeah. How was she helpful? Like, how does she sort of bring you back?
Just reminding me, you know, that like, because I was like, Lynn, nobody would wake up their baby after they put their baby. Like, when your baby is asleep, that is the best time to be a parent. Yeah. And I was like, no one would wake up their baby because they're bored. And she's like, she doesn't give a shit. And I was like, oh. Right. Okay. Yeah. She doesn't give a shit. And, you know, even like back to like the baptism thing, obviously I would be like, oh, this might be scary for the baby, and the baby might not want to get wet. So I'm not going to get the baby wet. But to Grace, this is a baptism and this really pure place for her. So that is what she would do.
Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap, but thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind staying in your seats, but please give Jen a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks.